Hello, listeners. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Craig Cummings, who is an entrepreneur, investor, Army veteran, and true Austinite super connector who is immersed in the city's vibrant tech community. He is the special advisor for military and veteran affairs for Capital Factory and serves on the advisory boards of VetsInTech, Texas Venture Labs, UT McCombs School of Business, and DivInc. After 17 years of military service that earned him a Bronze Star, he co-founded the transportation platform RideScout, which was acquired by Mercedes-Benz. In 2014, Craig co-founded Moonshots Capital alongside Kelly Perdew to invest in extraordinary leadership in the military veteran community and beyond. Craig holds a BS in Political Science from West Point, where he was their first Truman Scholar and later served as assistant professor of political science. He also holds a Ph.D. in political science and econometrics from Columbia University and is a member of the 2016 class of Henry Crown Fellows with the Aspen Institute and was recently named a future Texas Legend Veteran by the Texas Business Hall of Fame. In this episode, we talk a lot about how to identify extraordinary leaders and the importance of selling your vision, and maybe some roles and expectations of a leader that you weren't aware of. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. What does it truly mean to be a leader? Welcome to The Executive, a podcast that highlights the career journeys, struggles, successes, and day-to-day experiences of leaders. I'm your host, Dr. Benjamin Ritter, bringing over 10 years of experience as a leadership and career coach, L&D consultant, and healthcare executive. My mission is to guide leaders towards creating a career they can love. Thank you for listening. Now let's hear from the executive.
One of the things we've learned over time is you have to test the CEO on fundraising. And we learned this early on, like, oh my God, we love this founder. Amazing. Yes, here's the check, which is most year round. Let's just go ahead and close with our check. And then in the next round, we came to learn that founder, as much as we loved the founder, him or her, was not good at fundraising. And that is part of the test of being a CEO. So now when we lead rounds, if we do like a 3 million round, we'll lead with, $1.5 million or $2 million, and they got to get the rest. We'll help. We help with intros, but they still have to get those other investors to come along.
Do you see the CEO able to bring anybody on board to kind of delegate out the fundraising piece? Someone a little bit more enthusiastic, charismatic?
We like it when you see a great team, but this is based on a true story. We literally took a pitch of a really potentially badass company 2 weeks ago. It was the CEO and it was an investor who had this amazing track record, who had a large amount of money and family wealth, super excited about what they were building. And we were actually really excited to see this company because we had looked at 50 plus deals in this category. I'll just say it, it's not going to give away. In the drone category, we thought this could be the one we would invest in. The investor talked 95% of the time. We might have invested had the CEO talked 95% of the time with 95% of the conviction. But it was so awkward. Even our team who was present was like that. And we have 2 military officers on our team. And they were like, man, that was weird because the CEO wasn't talking. And if we get a deal shared with us by a professional fundraising company, we'd love to introduce you to this company led by Benjamin Ritter, who sells leadership supplement tabs. Take one in the morning, one in the night. Best leader ever. And and we pass. We don't even look at them if it's not coming from the CEO. So
okay,
we've just learned over a lot, and it's okay if you're recording this and you can use this and weave it in. I'll stop, but this is like pattern recognition, right? This is what we're trained to do.
So what you're sharing though is that the CEO or the leader especially when it comes to believing in a company, needs to be the one that is the champion, needs to be the one that displays something that's like this factor. What are you looking for in that leader, like from that like no one else can provide? Like if you don't see this from the CEO, that you might not fully believe in the organization of the company.
We definitely want to see that individual can lead others. And in the example that I just discussed with it, having essentially an over-the-top investor, that signals to us that he's not controlling the board, and that can be a challenge for anybody, and he's not controlling the immediate team, and he's not able to, he's not in the leadership position of that company. We look for, certainly subject matter expertise, and we generally see that, right? We look for more we than I. Sometimes if you have a solo founder, it's natural you're going to have more I than we. But we've also come to learn that pretty much everything is a we. Again, this is not usually a problem, but anything that sort of hints at too much ego, borderline narcissism, we just see the way that the CEO communicates with us, communicates with the team, communicates verbally, written, when they communicate, how often they communicate, the words they choose, how they talk about the opportunity. And at the end of the day, and then I'll hit pause, we look for CEOs who not only know their business, but know our business, like who understand the mechanics of our side of the table. Sometimes we'll see great CEOs who have no idea what the VC journey is like, don't know the language. And it's like you love those CEOs sometimes, but you're like, man, this is going to be a heavier lift. And we've done it before, but generally we like CEOs who know both sides of the table.
Yeah, you're in a unique space, and what I'm hearing is this question is like, why is this person the CEO? When someone's in front of you, it's just, this person needs to have a reason for being in this position. And like something else you mentioned though earlier is that this person needs to be able to raise money. Like, what does that represent about somebody at the helm of a company if they can convince other people to invest in them?
That's a great question. I mean, we're always selling our vision, right? We're always raising money. We tell founders, and I think it's just become somewhat cliche at this point, that you're always raising money, even the day after you close your last round. The pro CEOs are raising both rounds at the same time, the one they're in and the next one. And that is indicating that they understand what it's like to be a VC-backed company, and that you're telling a story, and sometimes you have investors that are the right investor for the time, let's say, call it the seed round, but they may be better for the A round. And so you're having those conversations at the seed, really about the A. Shows that they can speak, well, let me use Army language. They can shoot, move, and communicate, right? They can clearly articulate a vision that rallies us, other investors, and their team. And it's just so hard to raise VC. It's not even us. I mean, in our fund too, we reviewed 5,901 deals and invested in 16. I'll do the math for you. We're investing in about 0.25% of the deals that we review. And that's a combination of harvesting deals and hunting deals. So seeing that conviction and knowing that CEO, we have high confidence that CEO can raise money. It's just, it's a proverbial box to check. Do we think the CEO, if we put them in front of co-investors, can close additional dollars? The answer has to be yes.
This is the first time I've ever said something like this, but it's almost like part of leadership is sales, like sales to your employees, sales to your leadership team, sales to your investors, sales to the public. And it's just looking at it through a lens of am I conveying a vision? Am I conveying my like the capabilities of myself and my team and the business in a way that is building trust and getting people to want to follow us and to invest in us?
100%. If my business partner, co-founder, Kelly Perdew on the line, he'd say, it's not sales, it's passion. That's what we want to see. That's what gets the money in the door. That's what gets the team excited. That's what gets investors excited. But and yes to everything you said.
I've worked with a lot of high achieving and performing executives, and honestly, a decent amount of them are operators, and they know business like meaning they could close their eyes and run a successful business. And also they're incredible empathetic as well as like directive leaders. They can coach as well as they can create results. And I think probably like 90% of them have been told at some point in their career to show more passion or charisma, like smile more, which is like the terrible piece of feedback. What do you think is happening? Like how does someone convey this? Maybe it's not a natural skill of theirs, but now they know that it's important for them to continue on in their success or maybe reach that next level. Like, I don't know if you've seen individuals like this too, and can we just speak broadly about them for a second?
Well, I'm glad you're calling this out, Benjamin, because, I have a salesy personality, I can be a little hypey in my vibe. I tell people, look, I hype truth. And I think it doesn't have to be like that. Like sometimes you'll just see that conviction in somebody, and they can be soft spoken, but there's a clarity to their words, to their vision, and you just get like drawn into that individual. And this is why when it comes to like what is the definition of an ideal leader, it's a proverbial it depends. Sometimes you do see that. We have leaders like Blake Hall and Dan Robinson and David Kervin. These are all military veterans, and they are taking the hill, and you are going to follow them because they have such grit and determination. They're looking at you in the eyes, and you're like, yes, let's go. I mean, we met Blake Hall. He could have been selling tulip bulbs to us, and we would have said, we're in for $1 million. Like, it didn't, he was that impressive. And yet we have a founder like Jason Dodd of Outpost, repeat founder, sold his last company in the space. We meant that literally, the space. And he's not a rah-rah, but you just, when you're in the room with him, you're like, this guy knows what he's doing. And he's empathetic and he's thoughtful, and the words aren't as loud, but they're very clear, and they're kind, and he's a pro. But it's a different vibe from what I just said about David and Dan and Blake. And I could talk about other founders as well, but those are kind of like two different like personalities that we see. So there is no one size fits all here, but sometimes we have, to your point, I've told a CEO, like, you're going to have to be a little outer body, like see yourself out of your body with the more energy and conviction around this. Cause I know you got it here. You just have to like fake it till you make it in terms of your excitement. Cause I know it's there.
Yeah, you can have a different personality, but you need to have belief, and you need to be able to convey that in some way that's authentic to you. And that can cause people to lean in and to listen. You can't be the shadow in the room, right? You have to be like, people have to be drawn to you in some way, shape, or form for some reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at you. I mean, your own personality. I've spoken to you about leadership at least 3 times, and you are crisp, calm, thoughtful. You know what you're doing. You don't need to be rah-rah cheerleader. cheerleaderly in your personality, because it comes through that you've studied this trade craft and it shines through. So that's what we're looking for, right? I don't, you don't have to have jazz hands in the sales of it. You just have to convince us you know what you're doing and that will inspire others to action.
I appreciate the call out. I was about to do some jazz hands, but I will hold back now because
I would say if this for video, you should totally do it, or just do it for.
We can do it for a second.
Dad's done it. Dad's done jazz hands. Okay.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a forever broken pinky, so it's like a 9/10 jazz hand. With as an old soccer.
I think it adds. It adds. You shake them fast enough, no one will notice.
Yeah, thank you for personalizing it for a second, because I actually wanted to personalize it for you for a moment. I mean, you have a certain level of leadership and presence, and I mean, you're talking about these leaders, but ultimately, and you may not see it this way, but from an outside perspective looking in, they're also following you. Like these leaders that you're conveying as, the like pinnacle of leadership. And so what do you think it is that you've honed over the years to create that level of followership as well?
I believe myself to be authentic, which is that word has become pretty popular. So I almost don't like to use it, but I think as I get to know these CEOs, like they get to know me, like I will tell them my stories. I will tell them the good and the bad. And I think what I do, and I know this is true of Kelly as well, I think this is part of our DNA. Like we become like a co-founder to the co-founders. And in some cases, because of our military veteran DNA, if you have a military veteran DNA on the team, and even if you don't, sometimes there's a speed of trust associated with the fact that we're vets, the fact that we've been trusted with proverbially taking care of America's sons and daughters, that we've been trusted with the lives of others, with taxpayer dollars, big projects, big missions. And so it all has to be earned. But I think if you bring that authenticity and you truly try to help them and they feel that, and what we say is our customer is the founder. Customer is not the investor. Got to have the investors, obviously, in order to have founders. But if you take care of the founder will take care of everything else. And so we, as former operators, and we've been in 15 operating roles and founded companies and know what it's like to be on their side of the table. Like we come right up to that fiduciary DMZ, so to speak, to be a champion of the founder. And I think they get that. And so when it comes time to compete for a deal, as is often the case, you have multiple firms going after, a hot company. We just say, we'll show them the logos of all the companies we invest in. We're like, pick a company, go talk to that founder and ask them what it would like to have us as an investor. You might want to choose this one because that was enterprise software. Or you might want to choose this one. That was a dual use defense tech company. And, at the end of the day, it just comes down to the trust. I think the authenticity, sets the foundation for trust.
You're authentic and you have people though that can support that. Like you have a brand that people are probably talking about where you are championing the founder. It's not just you saying it. And that is, come from just probably years upon years upon years of hard work and showing up consistently. I'm kind of wondering though, what is it about Like, how do you think the aspect of approval plays a role in creating that followership or connection? Like, the people that you work with today had to fight almost, right? They had to work to get your approval, and then they have your approval, and now you're almost like kind of, you know, said the co-founder, like you can almost like a supportive parent in a way, I almost think. And maybe that's not the dynamic that's playing out, but it just has me thinking about the importance of recognition, or like how to give recognition, and then how to be supportive when you give it, and how to give feedback. I don't know if that plays a role at all with your relationships with the founders that you work with.
I mean, it's a great question, because so much of what we do is often in the bucket of tough love. We start by knowing that it is not our company. Okay. We are there to coach, guide, inquire, champion, but at the end of the day, it is not our company. So we look for coachability, but it does not mean that you have to do everything we say. And oftentimes we just hit them straight, especially Kelly. Kelly is a pro at this. I've said, he and I have been friends and business partners since 2005. So we had our 19th anniversary in January, and he just hits you straight, like just tells it to you. And that's the way he loves on you. And I've definitely learned from that and evolved as a leader myself. Our founders will joke that we're sort of like a mom-dad, in a traditional family, a mom-dad combination. And he's that dad tough love. And I think I've come in his direction, and I think he's come closer to dad. He's come a little bit closer to mom, but you just learn. I think you can give that feedback, that tough love, because it's love. Like our service act is telling you something you don't want to hear sometimes. And you learn how to say those things, but you got to say them. I could give you a good example, but I'll throw it back to you.
I love examples. And just to further support, I think what you're saying is if the person if the person that you're providing feedback to knows that you love them and knows that you champion them, knows that you support them, you can say practically anything, and they're going to listen and be curious about it. And then one of the biggest roadblocks I see in organizations is people maybe have like one negative experience with a leader, or negative experience with a peer, or negative experience with a direct report, and now everything is tarnished. And so instead of listening, they lead from a place of like resentment or fear or anger, and it completely clouds and burns the relationship because of that because of that judgment from that previous memory of that experience. And kind of what you're sharing today, right now, is how that love and that relationship is just so crucial in terms of being able to be direct. And so I'd love to hear that example.
We have a company that is out for a Series A, and we have inbound interest from a very reputable VC firm. This firm is leaning in to lead around, and we had a call. Kelly and I both had a call with a potential lead firm. Two of us and two from another firm, asking us what it's been like, with this team, working with this team. What do we see as, opportunities? What do we see as challenges? And we got questions about the governance and around, decision-making, which is not necessarily like an out of bounds question, but it was, I know you guys are about the leadership and the people, but from a decision-making, I want to talk about how this is structured. And the answer is everything was fine structurally. we put the ball in the middle of the fairway. We have, there's covenants and provisions such that founders cannot, take the company, move to Bahamas, buy large yacht, and sail away. But it was a warning sign to us. It just didn't feel right. So we communicated that feedback to the founder, who said, you know what? I got the same question. And I thought it was really off-putting that was like, they were going in this direction. Like and it was cause for concern. And so we said, you need to diligence whoever they're going to put on the board before you sign the term sheet. And as much as we want to go, hell yes to this firm, because that brand is a well-known brand, and probably the brand alone brings in the other co-investors in this round. We're like, time out. Could be a great fit. You got to do some more work on this, and you got to kick the tires of this firm and whoever is going to end up being on the board. And in a back and forth, this founder said, this is one of the reasons I love you guys. We just hit them straight. We're like, it's not a slam dunk here as much as we want it to be. And that is hard. Like, well, the company needs to raise an A round, right? And then you get, and you're like, but wait. And yeah, that founder was grateful for that feedback. I was wave topping there and ishing and using code words, but hopefully the gist, came through.
Very much so. Other than just the support and the direct feedback, you don't rush leadership decisions. And like one drop of poison on a leadership team it doesn't matter what the supposed positive outcomes are, at least from my experience and my perspective. Those bad apples, you can't get the fresh fruit around it. Like, it literally poisons everything.
It's so true, Benjamin. And that's sometimes you see it and you're like, God darn it. I love what they were doing. I like that team, but you learn to trust your instinct. Kelly and I are a little bit older, and so we've got more data points to train the model, so to speak. Trusting your gut is important. And when you have that spidey sense, at least if you get the spidey sense, it doesn't mean like, oh, no, it's automatic no. But if you get spidey sense, you got to do a little bit more work to make sure, okay, that was, false alarm. We're good here. But if you like, no, that smelled toxic, and it tastes toxic, and we're out.
Have you ever faulted somebody for wanting to do a little bit more exploration to make sure that they were making the right decision? Like, oh, that felt a little toxic. I want to have another conversation, or I want to talk to someone that you worked with. As I work with a lot of leaders, vetting new positions for new companies, and they're afraid to ask for that extra conversation because they think something doesn't smell quite right, and they're worried about losing the opportunity that is now in front of them.
Yeah, it's a great question. And usually what we will do in that case is we will both, Kelly and I will both triangulate, okay, I took pitch. It could be onto something big. See footnote 1, slight concern about interaction of founder with team, or slight concern, too much arrogance. If it gets to what's essentially a full partner pitch, we'll share those notes in advance. And then I'll be sensitive. If Kelly's told me these things or I've told him these things, we'll have these, we'll have those footnotes on our cheat sheet, and then we'll try to suss it out. And then usually we'll, if we have to come back around to the conversation, we will. But if we sense it, if we hear something that like that sounds weird, we'll usually try to get at it in the call. Like that call I was telling you about with the investor who spoke 95% of the time on the call over the CEO. I joked, are you joining the team? Are you guys going to co-CEO this thing? I tried to kind of grab it, like work with it a little bit, throw it back, and maybe like give them a softball. No, I'm love what this team's doing, all in. So we get enough information to make us comfortable in our decision. And we do get clarity, but sometimes it takes a little more exploration.
The advice there hidden, I think, beneath the story, which is if you feel something's off, don't leave the situation and then think about it and then wonder if you need to go explore more. Like, take the time, take a step back, be aware of it, and double tap in that meeting, in that moment.
Yeah.
Ask additional questions.
Yeah. In calls, we just go right to feedback. Like, sometimes we know, like, your own, this is like the price that you're implying, the valuation you're implying is going to be very, very difficult for you to raise, or you're so early. That's a little bit too, cliche. Everyone's like, oh, too early, call me back when you got more traction. But my point is, because we say no 99.75% of the time, we do try to provide value back, something to that team to help them. Could be an introduction to like a target customer, like not a fit now, too early, but I want to make a couple introductions for you. Or here's an investor who specializes in that space. So yeah, we try to optimize that time with the team, no matter what that means. Built from building authenticity to building trust to giving feedback to sussing out toxicity.
Well, everything that you shared today just highlights, the positive and authentic and leadership style that you personally have, and how you also support others and champion other leaders and can recognize leadership and promote others' leadership skills and prowess. If people want to learn more about you, if they want to follow your journey, if they just, I don't know what else they would do. If they want to say hi, how would they be able to do that?
Well, I would say head to our website, moonshotscapital.com, and that's a plural on the Moonshots Capital, capital.com. You'll see us, you'll see our investments, but sign up for our newsletter. We do a monthly newsletter, and we communicate. We have over 18,000 followers of the newsletter, and it really has become our voice as much as opportunities, which, thank you, by the way, for this one. You literally hear our voice. So I'd say website, number one, and number two, in Medium, for many of the things we've talked about here today, Leadership Prevails is our Medium blog site. Leadership Prevails. And you can read some of our work on leadership and why we invest in certain companies, what we saw in the company, what we saw in the founders. Our investment thesis is we invest in extraordinary leadership, period. That's what matters most to us. That, at the end of the day, we believe is most important to the ultimate success of a company.
Well, thank you.
Yes, it has to be a great company and a great market, but at the end of the day, right back to your wheelhouse, Benjamin. Right back to leadership.
Well, thank you for investing in extraordinary leaders and creating a world with more extraordinary leaders so that they can impact the world in their own right and way. So thank you for being that conduit. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. Thanks again for your time, Craig. It's always a pleasure.
That was fun. Yeah. See you around town.
Thank you for listening to the Executive Podcast, where we explore what it truly means to be a leader. If you've taken one thing away, make sure to subscribe, share, and most importantly, leave a review. Thanks again, everyone, and see you next time.